Hi, everybody, and welcome along to the Endless Celts Podcast. It's been a while since I've been on myself. I needed to write down the script, so don't forget my lines, but hopefully that intro went to plan. Franny, how are you, buddy?
Aye, all good. It's Monday. It's had a decent enough weekend. The weather was good, so was it a good walk with the Bains on Saturday. They got absolutely minging, just gone through fields, but that's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Then we
Exactly.
taken them swimming yesterday. Getting out the swimming was not much of a success. You would have honestly thought we were nicking Harley. I thought we were nicking her. The way she was howling and just constantly shouting, "No, no, no!" And I was like, and I
Was this coming out of the swimmers or getting in?
She was fine going into the swimming. But then I've been also, she nearly drowned, and so did Mila. But I mean, it was a good day.
Good parenting skills, Franny.
Well, Jed, I'll be honest, they went down a slide like a flume hang. It was this place in Falkirk, the Marina Centre.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty decent. It's like a kids' tiny pool, fin pool, aye.
Yeah.
And then Mila wanted to go down the bigger slide, and so did Hallie. Now, for anybody that doesn't ken, Hallie's 3-year-old, so she's quite wee. And Mila came sliding down it, and then I had to kind of catch her and then try and put her to the side. And then I realised she hadn't grabbed the edge of the pool to hold herself up. But then she went for it again. And the next thing I seen her Wayne fly down into the pool, and I went, they didn't really surface. I went, oh shit, that's Hallie. And so I had to dive under the water and get Hallie and pull her out. And I turned around and I was like, oh, where the fuck is Mila? And Mila was underwater. All the while Lynn was escorting them up to this log flume. So yes, the parenting probably could be questioned yesterday for me and Lynn.
You better hope social services isn't watching the night, Franny.
No.
It sounds an eventful weekend. I had my kids as well. We went to the arcades, had a wee bite to eat, and it was a good time. And that the girls loved it, to be fair. But checking the bank account after a day out now is just sensational. You lose hundreds of pounds, you don't even realise where it's spent. But Jed, what about yourself, mate? Have you had a good weekend? I know you got some news today. If you want to share it as well.
Yeah, I've been invited to play in the John Hartson Charity Foundation, and so I took the chance, and I've been told I will be playing with Frank McAvenny. So really looking forward to it in May. So I'll need to I've not played since August, but listen, I'll be fine. I'll probably have a good score, so I'll be okay.
As long as you're good, to put the ball in the hole, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it's me, but there seems to be an echo or an interference or something. I don't know if anyone else can hear this.
Sounds
just myself.
Yeah. Yep.
That's all right then. That's all right. But Franny, we'll get cracked in. I mean, Gavin's already made a wee jab to myself. Who's that guy on the top left? You know, I'm back. Some people they're busy sometimes. I appreciate everyone who obviously done the marathon of Ross at 4 hours nearly, hit midnight. Unbelievable. I mean, people filling in that. So it's been good to get the podcast back in a regular schedule. We were crying out for that, and finally it's happened. So I'm happy about that. But I mean, we'll start with the game on Sunday. It was sunshine on parquet instead of sunshine on leaf. Just as always, brief summary, buddy. How did you feel about it?
It was good. It was a very convincing victory. I felt. I mean, it wasn't blessed with hundreds and hundreds of quality, but I thought Celtic really managed the game well. I thought they really played well. We started quick. I think we showed Hibs the respect they deserved off. I mean, they were on a great run. I think it was 14 or 15 on the bounce without getting beat. And obviously in that, they've bet us. Did they beat Rangers or draw Rangers? I can't remember if that was a draw. They beat Rangers at Easter Road, but they've obviously got the Derby victory. So they picked up some really good results in that run after a really, really tricky start. So fair play to David Gray for turning it round in that. And obviously it was only a couple of weeks ago they beat us 2-1 and deservedly beat us 2-1. We went great that day. But like I said in the group chat, Stephen, it wouldn't surprise, although we didn't go out and batter them 6-0 like what we done to Aberdeen, that type of game did not really surprise me. And Sunday it feels like Rodgers' ego just won't allow two sort of similar performances in the bounce, I feel like, against the same team. Obviously it helps being at Parkhead, the bigger pitch and stuff like that. You can spread it, but I thought it was a great start. We started, as the game went on, we started getting better chances Obviously, McGregor's shot, the keeper saves it down low. Then obviously we get the goal. And then in the second half, there was the one in the first half where Hibs had the shot where they taken the shy for about 20 yards ahead of where it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time I really had my heart in mouth kind of stuff. I don't know where VAR stands if that goal had went in. How VAR would have approached that if they can approach it, I don't really know. But even obviously 1-0 in a cup game and that, 1-0 in any cup game, any game, but cup games you just don't know. Jed maybe be able to tell us different. We've been at the game, but certainly watching it, I didn't ever feel nervous at all. And then we just kind of, Adam Idah at the end, just kind of made the last couple of minutes a wee bit more enjoyable, if you like. But I was not one, I'm not trying to sound arrogant at it, but did not feel uncomfortable with that game, watching that game at all.
I think we really kind of exerted our authority, didn't we? It was a good professional performance, and I think Celtic from very early on took control of the game. Do you know what I mean? Usually we come on the goals individually, but Franny's covered them all in one segment, so we'll have to move on from that. No, I'm only joking. But I think for myself that it was a good professional performance. It was, like Franny said, the only moment really was that time they took the throw in 2 miles away from where it should have been took, and Kasper Schmeichel rightly cracked up. But I want to take it back to the lineup, and it's interesting. And look, I'm going to go early with this here, but what's the situation here with Greg Taylor and Jeffrey Schlupp? Is he the number one? Is the writing on the wall for Taylor? Is he going to leave? Do you think it's just as cut and dry as that, Nigel? Because since Schlupp's come in, he's played the majority of the games.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, Schlupp's a better defender than Taylor. I think he's already proven that. He looks very confident in the ball. Obviously, he doesn't go up the park. He's not as effective as Taylor. But first and foremost, I want my left back to be able to defend, and he can defend. So I'm quite happy about that. Taylor has obviously, what I heard, he was looking for £25,000 a week. The club won't give him that. So good luck to him when he moves on to pastures new. He'll go with all the best wishes from myself, but I would like to see a signing slip as a backup to Tierney, because I have been impressed with him. He doesn't hide. So for me, I'm only looking at it as a positive rather than a negative with Greg Taylor not getting a game.
Yeah, I mean, Merzuno comes in, Franny, lowers levels. Schlupp is an EPL winner, for fuck's sake. Yeah. And then Tommy 55 comes in. I think he's burnt his bridges, especially with the fans. I don't necessarily think he's burnt his bridges, but I think he's made his feelings clear. Like Jed said, that he wants a certain wage, and Celtic don't look to be willing to pay that for him, and that's their own prerogative. But where do you think it is? I mean, is his career going to fizzle out now? Like, is he going to get much game time between now and the end of the season? Schlupp for me is number one, but
I think it is. I think Sunday could be interesting. I fully expect Schlupp to start, and I think that for me, I know you can maybe point to the the Bayern Munich game, where Schlupp started there, but the fact that it has kind of had a run of games since that, obviously, you have the caveat of Greg Taylor's having his partner just recently had a baby, so it's to maybe. It's not been devil's advocate as such, but you could be looking at going, we're in a great position in the league where we can afford Taylor to give him that time to spend with his family, because I believe it's his first child as well. So kind of gives him the chance to be around the family a wee bit more and be with the kid. It could be a new... it could be the that's totally done me. It could be the perfect excuse not to play Taylor. If you're trying to be kind to Taylor, I feel like he's obviously, like I say, his partner's just had a baby, so it's a perfect opportunity to give Schlupp some minutes and play him. But if you want to kind of go back to when we had Taylor and Baye in the squad, one started, they generally came off around between 60 to 75 minutes, and never, whatever left back started, generally didn't finish the match. and I think it's only happened for Sloop once. I think he's only came off once, and I think that was the first game he started on.
Yeah.
You look at the Bayern Munich game, he finished that match, and he's finished the next couple of matches. And I say I fully expect him to play on Sunday. I think it is. I'm trying to give maybe reason to why Taylor's not on, but I think it is Rodgers is. They say not. I think wash his hands with him is probably a harsh term. It's similar to the fans. I think the fans are still fully back him in the sense of what he's gave to the club and stuff. But Rodgers is, if it's unfortunately just like I can't remember who said it, talking about the levels. It's we want to be a bigger club. We can't, as you like to say, Stephen, can't be sentimental. Got to just play the best player. And I think a lot is even Ross would not like to put words in Ross's mouth, but I think even he's one of Taylor's biggest fans, and even he said Slip's better than him. So that's kind of says it all for me as well. So I'm with Jed and probably a lot that I would like to see Slip stay on beyond his loan deal. Hopefully it can be done because it's a good cover for Greg for Kieran Tierney, and he can play a number of positions as well left hand side. So he could be a good utility player at that age as well to have.
Yeah, totally agree. And his experience definitely does shine through when he plays. I think for me, he's definitely a prototype of a player that Brendan Rodgers wants in terms of the physicality, the power, the pace, being able to get him up and down for 90 minutes. But, Jed, I want to move to another kind of incident within the game. I'm pretty certain this happened before we scored our first goal. If not, we'll just talk about it first anyway, and we'll move on. Was the incident that Franny was alluding to about the Hibs chance, maybe their one and only chance, is when the ball went out for a throw and the Hibs player took the ball maybe 6 or 7 yards ahead of play off the cone, played it to the Hibs player, I think it was Bhoys, and he got in for a shot one-on-one with Casper Schmeichel. I also want to tie in with that as well, with the VAR shambles, the goal that we got chalked off at Easter Road. The audio was released by Alan Muir. I don't know if you both heard it, yes?
Yeah, we spoke about it on Friday night, and
right. No, I get that, but kind of what I'm saying is, do you think the VAR would have got involved at that level with the Hibs chance if they scored that?
I would hope so, because I must admit, when he took it, I was screaming. He took it from the wrong area, and you seen Schmeichel going ballistic, and it could take. How many times does a free kick get blown back because they've moved it 5 yards? That wasn't 5. That was at least 10 yards from where the ball went out. It was poor. I mean, I wouldn't have liked to have seen the ball get in the net to see what they would have done, but I just thought it was very, very poor. And no, I say the crowd erupted because everybody could see it. Everybody could see it. So, but as Franny touched on earlier as well, that was the only time that Schmeichel had anything to do really in the game. But we can come on to that. I'll talk about other things later about the game as well. But no, I wouldn't have liked to, like I say, I wouldn't have liked to have seen the ball get in the net because I do not know what the outcome would have been.
The outcome would have been Alan Muir and his VAR officials probably in a lodge celebrating.
It was the right place, wasn't it? It was the right place. He did it for the right place, didn't he?
He did, didn't he? Look at this angle. That angle. What about this one? Fucking idiot. But that really angered me. I've listened to that like 3 or 4 times just to hear the excitement in his voice. It's like he's selling a product like a salesman. What about this angle? Do you agree here? What about this one? It's like, fuck off, you cheeking bastard. But just talk about
the angle that he did do is when he said, "Oh, it's out there," and then he's telling me like roll it back or like obviously just to get said it. The ball's all fuzzy, which tells you Alistair Johnson made contact with that ball at that point.
Oh, it was incredible.
It was almost like the assistant boy was like, "Oh, I'm sick of this now. So can't be bothered."
That's exactly what it was like. It was like, I'm fed up with your shake. Just say it's out. Can't be fucked listening to you no more. No one lemon. But it was, Willie Collum just played lip service. He just admitted it was wrong. He didn't say anything differently to that, but it was a joke of a decision. And I mean, what about yourself, Randy? Can VAR get involved with a throw-in? I don't know the protocols, but you would like to think if that goal had went in, they would have gotten involved some shape or form.
You would like to think so, and you've been similar to myself, Stephen, also what's on the telly. I don't think they mentioned anything on the commentary about saying if it did result in a goal, if VAR could have got involved. So I suppose I'm maybe looking at it and going, well, if they did score, the goal would have stood. But it was just, it's like Jesse, it was just how it sounds silly complaining because if you watch any player take a throw in, they steal yards all the time. They steal yards all the time, but it was just how blatant that was. No, I'm not accusing the Hibs player of cheating. He's clearly just tried to
take advantage,
take a quick shy because he sees the boy Bowie's boy in, so he's grabbed the first ball. But it was just how blatantly it was about 10 yards ahead of where it should have been, and the referee never even called it back for. Well, essentially it would have been a foul throw because they've taken it for the wrong place. It was just how he just let play on and they got a corner for it. So, but I certainly can't remember them mentioning in commentary, Stephen, if it resulted in a goal, would they have called it back and gave us a foul throw? So I really didn't know. Maybe if somebody in the comments can tell us either way what would have happened in that situation. But it'd be interesting if it went in.
Franny, the highlights that I've seen in the BBC, I don't know if it was Alistair Lamond that was doing the commentary. The only thing he mentioned was Schmeichel was going ballistic because it was taken at the wrong position, the wrong place.
Which maybe suggests VAR couldn't get involved with it. Which maybe suggests VAR wouldn't have got involved. But, you would like to think
thank God nothing happened then.
Aye, well, that's true. Chris D comes in. They did say VAR might have looked at it on the commentary. I'm guessing that means in San Fran, VAR could only have started from the throw itself. I mean, to be fair, we don't know what would have happened, but again, with the VAR corruption and the refereeing bias that we see in this country, Scotland and this country on a daily basis, probably nothing would have happened, and the referee, fucking Lodge would have been celebrating. But moving on, Jed, I'll start with yourself with Celtic's first goal. A good bit of build-up play. Obviously, Dyson Maeda finishes it off. I have to give credit to Rocky Bashiri. I thought he had a fantastic game for him. Yes. He kept them really, really quiet, really marshaled the defence, and you can see the kind of foundation that David Gray's built at Hibs, that formation, the 3-5-2, really tight, organised, and playing on the counter with quick players like Martin Boyle and Bowie up front. So they're a dangerous outfit, and Celtic and Hibs are the most informed teams in Scotland at this moment in time. But first goal comes at the left-hand side, gets played into the box. Nicholas Kuhn should have finished it, in my opinion, but Maeda, like he's done for the last 3 or 4 games, he's anticipated the ball rebounding back and he's fired into the roof of the net. And for me, he's just an unstoppable machine, Jeff. He keeps performing and delivering.
Yeah, I mean, the running that guy does is unbelievable. Like, even in the 95th minute, he was still trying to get another goal. I don't know what they feed him. He's just phenomenal, the running that he does. And like you said as well, Stephen, at the game I couldn't believe Kuhn never scored it. So I was just glad that Maeda was there to the follow up. I mean, the defender was just standing there. He wouldn't expect Maeda to be coming in from there. So yeah, just great setup, because I felt in the first half we totally dominated the game. Their keeper made some outstanding saves, McGregor. Their shot from Atati, and got to give Hibs credit. They have improved so much since the last visit to Celtic Park. Like you said, Rocky Bashiri, I thought, had a really good game. You could see they've got the back three, but then go in a back five when they need to. And they don't panic. They try and play the ball out as well at times. And as Franny touched on earlier as well, I'd leading in the last 5 minutes, even though they didn't look like scoring, you were always, what if anything happens here? But we didn't really give them the opportunity. But it was not an easy game, because Hibs, because I said on Friday night, if Hibs had beat us, they would rightly become the favourites for the Cup. And that's, if you look in the League Cup, when we knocked them out early in the season, the Hibs team then to what it is now is night and day.
Yeah.
So credit to David Gray, credit to the Hibs fans. They sold out their allocation. They were noisy. There was actually quite a few. The fans were mixing, going to the game and everything like that. So I hope Hibs have a good end to the season, because I don't mind David Gray. I don't mind Hibs. I think their fans deserve to have a better team. So hopefully maybe next season they can build on it and make the league stronger as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, competitive teams and within the league, breed competitive nature and hopefully get the best out of Celtic. It's interesting you bring that up, because there's a part later I do want to talk about competitive teams within the league and certain things that might happen in the future that might impact Celtic. And you mentioned that the Celtic Exchange podcast, I'll be referencing the podcast they done with David Lowe about the takeovers and money in Scottish football. So I just want to have a wee chat about that towards the end after we talk about the game. But Franny, I mean, is there any concern with Nicholas Kuhn at the minute? It feels like to me he's dropped off maybe a wee bit. And look, I'm not throwing conspiracy theories out here, but it feels like that ever since Felipe Ayala's came back, that is his nose out of joint a bit. He just hasn't been himself. I know he got a goal in one of Jada's first games, but ever since that, I think he's been really quiet, not himself. I thought he should have buried that chance when the ball came in before Maeda even got the chance to finish it. I don't know. What do you think? He's just dropped off a wee bit?
I think it has, in recent weeks, has dropped off a bit. I thought he certainly wasn't back to his best on Sunday, but he was back to a better level, I felt, on Sunday, where he was taking his man on, he was running at him. Now, the boy Cadden, it's no great shame that you're not getting the better of him. He's been absolutely dynamite and been brilliant, and a big part. Both Caddens, to be fair to them, have been a big part of this Hibs run that they've been on. They've been absolutely brilliant. But I thought, whilst Cadden, I think Nicky Cadden's the one that plays at left back, and whilst he was on the park, I thought Kuhn, in the main, got the better of him, and obviously got the better in Nick's in it. But I can't remember if Cadden was still on at that point when he nicked in at the back post.
No, he was off.
Was he off by that point? So, I mean, Kuhn does well to anticipate the cross coming in. He gets himself in the right position. But he should score. It was very similar to his one against Leipzig, where I think he's probably thinking is, because he's that close to goal, probably just thinks he needs to get it in target, and probably 9 times out of 10 that's all you really do need to do for that sort of range is get it on target, and the keeper makes a good save. And like it just seems what we've been saying about Maeda lately, he's just in the right. I say he's in the right place. He just anticipates it brilliantly. His pace allows him to get into the positions as well, ahead of boys and stuff. But I'm not wanting to read too much into the Kuhn thing, Stephen. I'm not going to sit here and deny he's been, and sit and say he's been at his brilliant best of late. I think he has had a dip. It's obvious he's had a dip. But I'm wondering if that dip's amplified by the sort of hysteria, if you like, if the fanfare of Jota coming back, or maybe looking into it a wee bit more. There might, I don't think there is, but there might be a wee bit of him, like you said, his nose a wee bit out of joint thing, going, look at what I've done for you up until he's came in this season. I've been absolutely flying this season, talked about his player of the season. And it's all, I wouldn't say it's been forgotten about what he's got, what he's done, but maybe if he's trying to look at his form, maybe he is looking at it going, come on, this guy, yes, this guy was good for 18 months, but he's only just in the door. I've been toss a coin between me and Maeda, who's the best player of the season this season. But I just think it's just a wee dip in form he's had, which has coincided with playing like the 3 games a week and stuff. So maybe the next few weeks we'll be telling, especially if he gets up. As I say, I fully expect him to play Sunday, but I'm not reading too much in it, Stephen. But I'm not going to sit here and deny that he's not had a wee dip.
But see, if you looked at the game yesterday, guys, on the first half, especially the first half, they went down the right hand side a hell of a lot more than what they did. Jota, I thought Jota had a quiet game yesterday. Kuhn had quite a good game.
Kuhn had a decent game yesterday.
Him and Johnston's got that understanding and all where Johnson's flying down as well. Yeah, I did think he had a decent game. I think what it does prove up, what's going to throw up, it's going to be interesting come Sunday who plays up front. Because listen, Maeda's going to start, but then does it mean he goes out in the wing up against Tavernier? So that means Kuhn's going to start on Sunday. Let's not kid ourselves. Kuhn's going to start. But I thought he had a good game yesterday, and maybe I think people, including myself, said maybe his came off the boil a wee bit, but he was setting the standard to sell how good he was. So and as we've all said, no player can put in that performance week in, week out. So, but and it got a really good standing ovation when he left the pitch as well. So the fans are not on his back.
No. I wasn't suggesting that. I'm just saying the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks he hasn't been at his fluent best, and it's noticeable when Yang and Jada have better stats in the last 4 or 5 games than our main man Kuhn did in the last 4 or 5 games. So it's just a dip in form. I don't think his nose is out of joint. This is just what I've been reading. You know what I'm like on Twitter, Franny? I read stuff and put 2 and 2 together. I like to chuck it in the podcast to see what people think. But look, hopefully his form comes back in full force against them on Sunday, which we'll talk about shortly. But I mean, you mentioned Jada, Jed. He done a lovely bit of skill in the second half where it looked like the ball was out of play. He nicked it and he put it over his head and he ran onto it, left Cadden in the dust, and he ran into the box, and it could have been a fantastic solo effort, but unfortunately he missed it. But you said he had a quiet game. Did you see that one? Did you see him doing that?
Kicking the ball in? I was actually screaming, why did they not pass it?
I think he should have passed it, yes.
No, I
did call him a greedy so-and-so, but that's remember he'd done it Easter Road as well.
That's right,
If he just had passed it to Kuhn, so he's... Look, I know the fans want him to score goals, but we want the team to score. We don't care who scores, as long as we win. So just sometimes pass it. But he did go past the boy, so he done well. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I wasn't happy to pass the ball.
Marzino comes in there, Franny. The shot was on. He had that of the goal to aim at. I mean, were you of the same thinking he should have passed it? When you see the replays, obviously, and when they're doing the analysis of it, you're like, Kuhn was there, Maeda was there, maybe he should have played the ball.
And I sit at that end. I sit at that end up at the top, and I can see it, and I'm like, pass it to me.
I think when he started cutting in, the pass was on, but obviously I think he takes that extra touch where he cuts in, but he sort of cuts back towards 18-yard line to then take on the other defenders. And when he takes on the shot, I don't think the pass is on then. And I agree. I think he's probably just before that he should play the pass. He's got Kuhn in that in a better position. But the boys controlled. Well, I say he's controlled it. He's managed to stop the ball from going out and somehow flicked it at the boy's head and just ran the boy. As I said earlier, the Cadden twins, they are no slouches and have been brilliant this season. And you can see them as well. They're big, stocky boys, and he manages to hold them off. He beats another guy. As much as I think he should pass it, I have absolutely zero issue with him taking the shot on there. He deserves, after everything he done, he deserved to even have to be in a position to shoot.
Franny, what if you were getting beat at the time?
It's a totally different day. Totally different. I am calling him for all sorts, and that is the fickle nature right there of a football fan.
Exactly.
By the way, can I get another thing off my chest here? And I've noticed it a few games, and I've noticed it again yesterday. Trusty. See the amount of times
film shots
he's not putting the ball over the top, and it's crying out for that. There was times yesterday where Jota was making the run, or Atati was making the run, and Trusty was not passing, and they were going mental at him. And as a few games, I've noticed that with Trusty. Just get your head up a little bit quicker to see what's on. But he's just taking the safe pass and putting it back to Carter Vickers. That's my gripe over and done with. That was annoying.
See, on the other hand, Ed, now, I agree with you, and the majority of what you're saying, look for that forward pass, look for them runs over the top. But Rio Watate was getting praised for keeping the ball simple against Hibs and playing it simple and keeping safe possession, because the troubles that we caused ourselves at Easter Road was playing them long balls, and then they were countering, putting us under pressure, and we had a lack of numbers at the back. Maybe it was a Rodgers thing, Franny, on Sunday, to maybe keep the ball and let them chase us, move them side to side, like he mentioned in his post-match, that we had to do that quite quickly, and pick the right passes instead of trying to force the issue all the time and force that killer pass, because that's when they win the second ball and then they're up the pitch and our final third attacking. So maybe it's a bit of both here.
I think it is. I think it was a deliberate tactic, because normally Hatate, because it was blatant, it was felt watching it anyway, blatant the amount of times Hatate kind of picked it up in good positions, and your Maedas or laterally Idah and that made the run, and the ball was on. Obviously, it had to be a good pass, otherwise Hibs are breaking it up and attacking with it. But normally we're used to Hatate going for that pass. It's what we kind of commend him for, in the sense that he's willing to play that risky pass. He will do the risk reward pass. But the fact that he didn't really do it, especially in the second half when McGregor went off, he didn't really do it a lot. He did retain the ball, like you say, Stephen. So I think it was a deliberate target to try and play the right pass instead of just, well, that pass could be on. But that pass, well, the pass is on, but it needs to be bang on. I need to be right with, otherwise we're three guys at the game straight away. Yeah. So I think for me, I think it was a deliberate tactic.
Yeah, looking at it, obviously Rui Tate as well, getting praise for it. I do think there was a bit of both, and yeah, I do agree. But I think Trusty's probably shaking himself in case he makes a mistake again, and he's just building up his confidence as well. Do you know what I mean?
Stephen, I think
try to build up his confidence. He needs to stop holding on to folk at corners and watch the ball.
Franny's been up where I sit, and you can see the game so good, especially when we're shooting in the first half. I know it's the opposite, but you can see the space. And you can see what the players are trying to run into the space, and it's just crying out at times, get the ball up. Ball up. And it's a few times I've seen Trusty doing it now. That's all. That's my only gripe.
Again, this is the Monday moan, as we like to call it. So you have your chance to say what you want. And Franny, I mean, P. McLaughlin brought him up, but can we talk about how good Arnie Engels has been in the last 2 or 3 months? That he is sensational, and he makes the game look so effortless at times. The way he plays a ball, the way he can shrug people off. He's starting for me to take the ball in the half turn, open up the space, look at what's around him, be more confident where he's playing. And then the fact we can take Cal McGregor off and he can fill in that number 6 role, and it's just, it's seamless. I just think he's been a real standout since the turn of the year, Franny.
He has. He's certainly grown into the Celtic jersey, I feel like, and grown into being a Celtic player and what it takes to be a Celtic player. Even when you hear some of his interviews, it's interesting to hear him talking, saying that he was getting used to having the demands of having to win every game and stuff, and not being used to playing 3 games a week quite a lot and things like that. And although he had a lot of games in the German league, it's maybe his first real season where he's a number 1 starter. I feel like playing a starting 11 consistently, and but I think everybody in this podcast has been fairly consistent with him and said that again. Noticed maybe not so much his dips, but it's just more he wasn't lighting up games, I feel like, the way I think some folk thought an £11 million player playing in the SPL should. I mean, if you read some reviews and before he came here, he predominantly played in that number 6 role, if you like. So how many number sixes in world football are absolutely ripping it up and scoring umpteen goals and umpteen assists? But if you look at him, I think he's got 10 goals now and maybe similar in assists, which I think is a great return. And I think he's a top assist maker in the Champions League as well. I think he doesn't hold the record, but I think he's the first, or he might be the first player to have 3 or 4 assists in the Champions League campaign as well, which is no bad going for his debut season here. And like you say, Stephen, for the turn of the year, he's absolutely kicked on, especially the last sort of 5-6 games he's properly kicked on. And it's not a bad time to really be finding your form at the tail end of the season Rodgers always likes to say he wants to sort of steamroll his way through. That he doesn't want to just walk across the finish line and wants to sprint over it. So you just want all your top players, and he's shown what an £11 million player should be doing. I say should be doing, but he's shown what you get for your money at that level.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
Steve, what you said about what I noticed now, he is looking before he gets the ball. He is kind of looking to see who's nearby. Where before he wasn't. We've seen it. Yeah, and also a comment that you made up earlier. I trust he's not going to be the new Whitman boy. I know that was put up earlier. I'm really pleased Trusty came to the club. I've been quite impressed with him. It was just something I noticed at the game, a few games, just asking to get the ball up a bit quicker. But first and foremost, as I said about Sloop earlier, he's a defender, and that's what I want him to do. I want him to defend. So as long as he's doing that, he won't be the Whitman boy for any fans.
No.
Arnie Engels, Dave, you didn't finish your point.
Yeah, I just think I've noticed he's more aware of what's about him. I think when he first came, after I felt looking at me I felt he thought he had more time on the ball. We weren't the boys right onto him, so he's had to learn to see what's in his surroundings, and we are now getting the benefit of that. And he looks fresh, doesn't he? Even late on in the games, he still looks fresh. But he is only 21, man, guys. Isn't he? He's still he's got a hell of a lot of development to do. And but yeah, hopefully now that will encourage Rodgers can go to the board and say, well, look, yeah, we paid £11 million. Look how well he's settled in. So we can go and get another few £11 million players. Because you're buying quality then. And I know nothing's guaranteed. I know that. But and you don't get in I've said this before as well, you do not get in the Belgian national team unless you can play.
Oh, 100%. Especially in the midfield they have now, but Tielemans and Kevin De Bruyne and people like that. I think for me, 420 somewhere sums him up. Arnie is very aware of what's going on in the game. He's an intelligent boy. He's just a very, very elegant footballer, and I'm glad the kind of comparisons with Matt O'Reilly are calming down. No one's talking about it no more. It's going away, and he's finally flourishing into the player, like Franny said, playing that number 6, number 8 role. You know what I mean? He's fantastic.
I know you hate the comparison to Matt O'Reilly, Stephen. You're rightly so, because they're two different players. I mean,
different players.
Talking about being a number 6, which is going to be further away from what Matt O'Reilly is, but it'd be interesting to know. Because like Matt O'Reilly was good the whole time he was here. He was especially good last season, especially good. But it'd be interesting to know up to this point of the season whose numbers are better. I don't think they'd be too far away from each other. If you just count goal contributions in total.
Engels is the last stat I've seen. Engels is further ahead than what O'Reilly was in assists and goals. For pro rata for the many games he's played. But I mean, it'll be interesting how he does on Sunday.
I think he needs a big game against Rangers.
Because if you look in the final in the League Cup, the game kind of passed him by a wee bit there. But he had, like you say, with that, he's improved since the turn of the year. So he's got to go in with the confidence. Look, you look at
he was good in the 2 Bayern Munich games as well.
He was excellent, Franny. He wasn't just good; he was fucking sublime. I thought he was sublime. And then
he can take Sunday on.
He'll have a point to prove. And if you listen to what Rodgers, I heard on the radio today, what Rodgers said about the game, I think he's got a point to prove. You know, he said that Rangers, rightly so, won the last game. But it's probably a good thing it happened to us because it put it into perspective what we need to do. So I'm looking forward to Sunday as well.
So am I, 100%. But Arnie Engels, fantastic player, and hope he keeps that form up for the coming games ahead. And Franny, coming to the last goal, tried to fill a wee bit in the match there because there wasn't much talking points in terms of actual real chances and things. But Maeda Idah comes on, Luke McCowan comes on, and it makes another great impact with an assist for Idah at the front post. Idah with a nice bit of movement to take himself away from the defender. And look, I feel like I fall into this trap every other week when we're saying that's what Idah needs to it's confidence. But when we say that, usually he goes on a run again of maybe 5 or 6 games not scoring, and he looks a wee bit disinterested. But it was just good to see him get his goal, do a celebration, and I don't know. I'm being honest here. I don't know what the future holds for Adam Idah right now. I just feel like for me, we give him all the praise in the world when he had that impact when Hugo left and he filled the void. But Dyson has come in and took that away from him again. So he's playing second fiddle. I don't know I don't know his future. Like, I hope he kicks on. Hope he scores a bar load of goals, obviously in a Celtic shirt. But I just want to see a wee bit more consistency from him, Franny.
I do feel sorry for him a wee bit in the sense that he obviously came in, and again, he's probably suffering a wee bit similar to Aaron Engels, where the fee, which same as Aaron Engels, it's not Adam Idah's fault. The fee that Celtic paid for him, he didn't put that price tag in his head, and maybe guys are just expecting him to be banging goals in week out because he's cost $9.5 million, but he's not getting a run of games, and I think it'd be another interesting one if you go to sort of minutes per goal. It'd probably be a really good record, but it does feel like, again, without really looking at it, it does seem like a player that scores in bunches. He'll maybe score 4 or 5, score in 4 or 5 games, and maybe go 4 or 5 games without a goal.
Fingers crossed then this weekend.
Aye, fingers crossed that's another wee run of them. And I think it is, like you touched on this, it does come across as a confidence striker where he needs to be playing games and things like that. So I think he does. I think he maybe does struggle not being the number one, if you like, because like you said as well, when he seemed to start a good run of games when Hugo left, and it was like he sort of went, right, I've not really got a challenge here now. Obviously, all the talk was bringing in a striker, so he was the guy that was there to go, well, I'll show the new guy that I'm the main man, and fully did it. Got a couple of goals against Aston Villa in the Champions League. He also had the big moment against Young Boys where he burst through and got a deflected effort that went in there as well. So he did have big moments and stuff, and it did look like he was going to kick on. Then Maeda, obviously, with whatever we want to look at it, we didn't get that striker in the window. Maeda had to kind of fill in it in the striker position, and it just turns out Maeda's hitting the absolute form of his life, and it's what he meant to do, and that's where I kind of feel sorry for Adam Idah, because he was getting a run, he was performing, but then obviously because of the amount of games we were playing, you couldn't expect him to be playing every game up front, which kind of contradicts Maeda. But well, I'll say Maeda just doesn't seem to slow down ever. It doesn't matter how many minutes, and obviously Maeda was a natural one to go into that position, and Maeda was having a really, really good season as it was, but he's just taking it on to another level as well again since Kyle left and he went up front. So I kind of feel for Idah in that sense that he's did manage to sort of take the bull by the horns, if you like, and was performing in the striker position. Maeda gets a wee run in there and he finds himself back fighting for that position again. So I do feel sorry for him, but I think he'll definitely still be here next season. I think we'll sign him in the summer. I think Rodgers alluded to that. At what level and what that will be is up for debate right now. But I think he still has a big part. I think Rodgers, the fact that we in the sense of Celtic, the fact that we waited and waited for it feels like Rodgers likes him and he's a Rodgers guy. So I think Rodgers will give him a chance.
Yeah. Go ahead, Seth.
Can I ask something then? I know they'll discuss it more on Friday night. I know that, but I feel as though I have to talk about it. And I also put it out to everybody watching. Would you start Idah on Sunday and put?
I don't know.
Because
the front, as much as I prefer Maeda out in the left, I say that, but it's because it's only really where he's seen us. I think Sunday's front threes are strongest, but a bit of me's. I don't like saying you should worry about the opposition, but a bit of me depends on where Tavernier's playing. But obviously Rodgers will not really know that until he sees the team sheet, I guess. and he was probably named his team at this point. And he's probably named his team at this point because it's like Jed touched on early doors. It seems that Maeda has Tavernier's number, so it's maybe one of the ones where you just, especially it's maybe one of the ones if you just put Maeda on Tavernier. But again, I don't know if Rodgers will think that way.
I think for me personally, like from the outside looking in, I think the biggest issue that I can see with Adam Idah is his work rate and his closing down. That I think is a big bugbear of Brendan Rodgers. I've seen him on the sidelines cracking up at points, and I think that was one of the reasons why he got took off at half time at Easter Road as well. The kind of work rate that he's wanted from his players. And look, I don't know if it reflects badly on Idah that all it took was Maeda to be shifted in one and then not sent back in the bench again. I think there should be a better kind of attitude from him to fight and keep going, and not that kind of deter him. But just think he gets in, from my point of view, he probably gets in his own head sometimes, and that fee, like you said, Franny, plays a big part in it. He's carrying a heavy burden, but at some point that has to go. You know what I mean? That has to leave him. He's still producing, but he just needs to keep that consistency going. Like you said, he scores in bursts, and that's great when it's happening, and we're all praising him, and rightly so. But then he has a flux of maybe 5 to 6 games where he's just not quite himself. And in terms of the game next week, Jed, to answer your question, I'll be brutally honest, I wouldn't start him. No way. I'd be Dyson for the middle and Jada and Kuhn. Obviously, Friday's podcast will cover that more in depth, but like, just to give you a kind of short answer on that one, that's where I'd be at in that argument. What about yourself, Jed?
At this precise moment, I would probably say stick with Maeda up front, but by Friday I could be totally different. I could be like, put Maeda, put him out in the left. But at this precise moment, I would go with Maeda. But if he does start Idah, I wouldn't be disappointed.
I just think for me, it's a Jota one for me as well. No, because I don't think Rodgers will be caring about. I think it's just us as fans that say just put Maeda on Tavernier because we know he's got his number. Rodgers will obviously not be thinking like that. The one for me is could the game pass by Jota because we're all just desperate for him. We're all happy he's back, buzzing he's back. These are the games you bring him back for. He's had massive moments in this fixture. Could it pass him back? I mean, it's one of the ones where it could either pass Jota by the game and he has a stinker, or he just.
I'll be controversial here, right? If Jota, let's say, doesn't start, I'd put Yang in.
Nah.
He's been in four.
Stephen, he's good coming on as a sub. He doesn't do well when he starts.
His bird must have went home on Saturday night, that's all I'm saying.
that was said at the game yesterday. His bird must have went home.
Just to finish off the cup game against Hibs, Dad, what did you think of the allocation? And then I know it was touched upon as well recently in the podcast, but obviously, just to throw it in again, the allocation of the 7,000 Hibs supporters I thought was fantastic. It was good atmosphere by all accounts on the TV. What do you think about the decision to allow, I think it's 3,000 Rangers fans in for the next Glasgow Derby game? Are you for that, or are you one of them supporters who don't let them in, close shop now?
Part of me, quite happy they're back in, but part of me, just keep them out. It was them that started it. Should we have said no? It's the old allocation or nothing. The Rangers could have, if they could have had 7,000 at the game this weekend, but they threw the toys out the pram big time. And Celtic from day one has said to Rangers, we'll go back to the old allocation. Celtic have sold season tickets in there since this happened on the proviso that that does not include the Derby games. So the season ticket holders there does not get that game. So we have been prepared from day one to go back to that. Now, it's probably a happy medium. When we go to Ibrox, it's going to be the one that sticks out in my head is like when Liverpool played them in the Champions League. They had, when you see where they're going to be, and it is going to be a decent support. But hopefully one day we'll all get back to the old, where we got the full Brimlin and they will get 7,500 or 7,000 for for Parkhead. Or in fact, I think it's 8,000 to get, isn't it? They
I
actually
think
get.
it's about 8. I think it's about 8 or something. 8,
But
8
listen,
and a half.
they caused this problem.
Marzuno comes in, seriously, use as your thumbnail, Yang must start Derby. Yeah, you know, if it's clickbait, it works, you know what I mean? Franny, quite interesting. The Celtic Supporters podcast comes in. Leeds people should be nowhere near Celtic Park, obviously in reference to the Rangers support. Look, I'll be honest, I'm all for it. I think it adds an atmosphere, it adds an edge. And to me, there was nothing more thrilling than watching Alden Edwards score that third goal at Ibrox in front of our support when we were at 10 men and Rodgers pulled off another masterclass. And then from that moment in time, they threw their toys out of the pram, like Jed said. Years have gone by of discussions, nothing's happened. We lived up the our end of the bargain by getting the security protocols in place, the new kind of entrance for the away supporters, the netting to keep the fans safe and things like that. For me, look, if I'm looking at this as a purely business point of view as well, and Sky, you want the support in. You want that edge. You want to build that up for the Glasgow Derby. You want them clashing, not violence, but singing and going mental in the stands and things like that. I liked it. I think for me, Celtic, especially the 3-0 game in February in Postecoglou's first season, the atmosphere was probably the best it's ever been due to what was on the line and stuff like that. I get there's been amazing atmosphere since they haven't been at Celtic Park, but part of me still thinks it adds something to it with them there, the support.
I know, I totally get, like that 3-0 game, Angie's first campaign at Parkhead. That was brilliant. A brilliant spectacle. I mean, I probably hold that in a lot higher, real high regard because my youngest daughter was born on that day as well. So it was a good day all in for me. But I'm with you. I would prefer. I'd prefer the fans the full allocation back. Obviously, it's Dale that does that. The Celtic Supporters Podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aye. It's Dale that's going. I mean, I'm not going to. Everybody's got their opinions and stuff, and folk will have their reasons for not wanting them in, and that's fair. For me and Ross touched on it last week with Gav. Me and Ross had our season tickets. We were honestly spitting distance, if you like, away from them, and it was either a horrible seat or a brilliant seat. But I would have not changed it for the world. Like I said, if you were beating Rangers, it was the best seat in the world, absolutely best seat in the world. But if they were winning, it was an absolute horrible seat because all you could hear was them. Even though there'd be 50-odd thousand Celtic fans, that 8,500 fans when you're, let's say, almost touching distance away from them, were pretty loud and noisy. But it just adds to the atmosphere, added to the excitement of the day, added to the spectacle. And like you touched on as well, Stephen, from a business point of view, Sky must. I'd be shocked if Sky haven't had a wee influence in this because there's been things in the past where they've said we'll get it back, and it seems to be the last minute. It's not happening, and it always seems to come for the Rangers. And whatever the media and whatever Rangers fans will tell you, we all know the true story why it's got to where it's got to. We did, like you touched on, lived up to our side of the bargain on countless occasions, and then we were maybe clever in the sense that said, like Jed touched on, Celtic always said, we'll go back to the full allocation. And Rangers rejected it, so they said, well, it's full allocation or nothing. It's very, very clever for Celtic in the sense, but now I'm all for it coming back, and I think Sky's had a wee say in what's happening in this as well, and they need to reciprocate that for every away ground, I think.
But Franny, I've seen the comments about when we used to get a lot more tickets at Ibrox as well. I remember going to Ibrox when it used to be in the main stand at Ibrox, you had the enclosure. Celtic used to get some of the main stand, but I'm going back to the early 80s. Celtic used to get part of the stand across from the main stand at Ibrox as well. And at the old Celtic Park, obviously the Rangers end, and Rangers fans also got part of the main stand in the front of the main stand. So they did in the 80s. And then it just changed over the years. But listen, you can speak to Rangers fans, and a lot of Rangers fans were a bit hacked off as well, saying Rangers brought this on themselves. And they should go back to the old way. And yes, you did have Rangers fans saying, keep them out. And that's the same with us. People have an opinion. That's their opinion. But I think it does. Someone put a comment. A lot of people younger ones are going to miss out an opportunity, or have missed out an opportunity to go to Ibrox and see them winning.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were playing with no fans, or we had 700 fans here.
I mean, Dale makes a good point about how what's happened to our players in recent games and their staff. That's a fair comment about like the bottles and staff members.
Sorry, I can't see that. So that's
Dale had mentioned about how what happened in some recent fixtures, which is a fair comment. But I'm more all for getting them back in and trying to make it work. But I want that across the board. I want the full allocation back at every away ground, not this 700 we're getting at Tynecastle and things like that as well. Because, like Jed said, it's fans are missing out and going to away games.
Petty arguments. But Franny, they're missing out in money.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be fine. I mean, come on, we used to get the two ends behind the goals. Now we don't, and it's not packed up. It doesn't look good in the TV.
Mm-hmm.
It used to Motherwell for a wee while. You got behind the goals at both ends as well. We used to get a lot about the main stand. That's look. I don't have a problem with other clubs if it's getting filled by their own fans, and that's fine. I don't have a problem, but they are doing it now, and the seats are empty. Tynecastle is that as well. So when Tottenham and Hearts come, just give them 200 tickets, give them 700 tickets.
Mm-hmm.
We'll sell it out. Just it bugs me. That's how you have to admire Livingston for what they've done as well. They would think, no, we're thinking the money here. We're going to give you the 3 stands, and we'll pack it out.
Yeah.
So
I think as well, Big Dom comes in with a great point. As long as our fans are properly protected at Ibrox, that's the main thing. 100% fan safety and also player safety and staff safety is the most important thing. And let's see, Dale comes back in. Is it the spectacle of the game for Sky or fan safety? Watch this space for Sunday, lad. It'll be bad again, and us that suffer. Look, I get what you mean, 100%. These things come with risk. These things come with trepidation. Do you know what I mean? Hypothetical scenarios that might happen. And this is when we hope the authorities do their job. Do you know what I mean? The fan safety is paramount, and no trouble really kicks off. As I mentioned, I like the singing. I like the absolute, fierce rivalry that can be created when there's allocations of away fans. Like, it's, just getting at them and winning these games away from home especially is fantastic. But look, it's one to watch this space on. I think for me, this is testing the waters again to see if we can build back up to that full allocation. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, we'll see what happens. But one thing I wanted to talk about, I was watching the Celtic Exchange podcast there. I'll start with yourself. I don't know if you watched this one, but with David Lowe.
I started to watch it and then I had to stop watching it. I've still to watch it all, but I do want to watch it because David Lowe was heavily involved when Fergus McCann took over the club back in the 90s.
Yeah.
So he's a good financial guy. He knows what he's talking about. So I do need to sit down and watch the full podcast.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, basically, it was talking about the landscape of Scottish football and the ownership models. Obviously, since this news has broke that Rangers are going to be took over by the 49ers, or no, 49ers, sorry. The American consortium are coming in to take 51% controlling stake in that club. That's if all their due diligence and stuff goes through. But I just think it's interesting. And look, this isn't shit the bed territory or wet the bed or whatever. I think it needs to be talked about. Is this the time? And I know Chris McLaughlin from the BBC Sports Line said that Celtic are apparently keeping a close eye on the situation across the water. But David Lowe was saying about these Americans coming in, that they wouldn't come in if nothing was to be gained. If there wasn't, an advantage they could see, if they could enhance their Tesco stadium and their facilities, bring in more revenue, invest money, that type of stuff. I mean, we've talked about this for years about the Celtic board kind of holding off and just making sure they're at arm's length and being happy just being in front. But from my point of view, I'll be honest, if this goes through, this for me, and I think David Lowe said it, is their Fergus McCann moment where it can be a revolution and maybe years down the line, we find ourselves under the challenge again. But in my point of view, Ted, Celtic should be light years ahead. And if that happens, that falls back on our board being a wee bit lackadaisical when it comes to pushing the boat out and really leaving them in the dust.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with a little bit of the scenario about the Fergie. That's their.
That's what David Lowe said. Not me.
No,
It's just what David Lowe said.
I agree with that, and I've heard other people saying it. The one difference for me is when Fergus McCann came in, he told all of us when he was doing this shit, he was going to be doing the share issue. Look, it may well mean that we do not win the league for a few years before we have to get in a financial footing where we look after ourselves. And we, as a fan base, accepted that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe the Rangers fan base will accept not winning the league for 3-4 years. And also, as well, the most important thing now, when Fergus McCann came in, there wasn't the PSR, as it's now called, financial fair play.
Mm-hmm.
They'll need to adhere to these rules set up by UEFA. So they can't overspend again. That was the whole thing. It was brought in. That's how Newcastle cannot spend the way they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They have to say they're saying they're going to have to probably sell Isak to try and help. So Rangers can't come in where it can help is, say they want to redevelop Ibrox, that does not get included in the PSR. So if Celtic look to do redevelopments to Celtic Park, if the board decide to do that, that won't be included in the PSR. That's my understanding of it. But surely the board is looking over, or not looking over their shoulder. They are looking to say, well, what sort of investment is coming in? And like you touched on, Stephen, we have to be doing things in the right way. As at the end of this year, the Adidas deal is up.
So,
right? So are we going to get? We're going to stick with Adidas. Adidas going to? It surely it's worked for them. They've made money out of it, so they can see there's a good partnership here, and they're going to. Are we going to get more millions for it? But listen,
speaking of Adidas one, I believe we are sticking with Adidas, and I think they might be taking Rangers on too.
Right. Well, that's fine. But are they going to give Rangers the same money as what they gave us? No, they won't.
Next, I think we're going in the elite club bracket, and
yeah, and also as well, what you need to mind is, are we going to stand still, player wise? They are by how many of their players are going to get in their team? No, really. They're starting to realise Butland is not the greatest keeper they thought they were. We're going to have Tierney coming in, right? So automatically, our defence is going to be getting stronger, assuming we don't lose anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I expect us to have a lot of new players coming in. But Rodgers can go to the board now and say, look, this new European Champions League format works for us. Mm-hmm. We can hold our own. We can get through the playoff or the knockout stages, whatever you want to call it. We've got the money there in the bank. We have to use it, but we have to be sensible with it, and don't just go out and spend millions and millions, because it, like we said earlier, it doesn't guarantee anything. We have got. Listen, Dermot Desmond is an astute businessman. He's not a billionaire for nothing. So he will want to protect his asset for his family. And all he said, he'll never sell his shares, it'll go to his family. So he'll want to protect that. Listen, bring it on. If they want to bring the investment in, fine.
Jen, but what do you make? What do you make of the argument? Franny, I'll bring in the wee second. What do you make of the argument David Lowe was talking about? And look, this is on the Celtic Exchange podcast. Look, I'm not advertising their podcast or anything. It was just a fantastic watch, and it was great listening to David Lowe because he knows all about finances. And like you said, Jed, he was heavily involved in the Fergus McCann deal and things of that nature. But the fellow who was interviewing him, forgive me because I forget his name, I think it's something like Tino or something like that, forgive me. But he was interviewing him and he said, basically, in a nutshell, the Celtic needed competitive Rangers to get the best version of Celtic, and David said yes, which I found quite interesting. Me personally, I don't really agree with that train of thought.
But Stephen, if you look back in some of the guys, there's talk about this 5-way agreement from when the new Rangers came on board, and it was the whole thing of the Celtic board were more than happy to go along with the old firm, but not advertise it as that. You know, they were quite happy for Rangers because they realised it's beneficial. Rightly or wrongly, whether I agree with someone else, the board thought it's better if Rangers are there for us, and it's better for Rangers if we're there. But we have to put the foot down now. We have the opportunity to make the gap even wider, where it will be very difficult. Doesn't matter what money Rangers bring in, it will be difficult.
Yeah, I agree. It's just an interesting one, Franny, and I know we kind of spoke about it briefly on the podcast chat and things. That it all started off as a joke, and people were saying it's never going to happen, but it's gathering pace. You know, it's looking likely it's going through by all the sources. They're saying it's going to be completed by June.
And by the way, sorry, Stephen, for butting in. Today, there is another 28 million shares getting released in Rangers. They need the money.
Apparently, it has to do with this takeover coming in, being moved into debt and stuff like that, and taking it out, making it. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm not a financial guru, Franny, but not worry you in a sense, but it's a clear signal of intent if shareholders of this magnitude do come in, because at the end of the day, as Jed said about Desmond, they will be astute. They'll know what they want to do. They'll have a structure in place. They'll probably want to make money in different avenues, like infrastructure, which doesn't go with the financial rules, so they can pour any money they want into that. The American market type stuff, and being really switched on. I know they have a 10% stake in Leeds, and they look like they might be getting promoted to the Premier League at the first time of asking under their stewardship. So they've got some gravitas about them, let's say. I, for me personally, think it's a time where Celtic and Desmond and co must be like, this goes through, really just hammer the foot down and just sail away again and leave them.
Yeah, I would argue you do that regardless of what happens.
100%, 100%. But I mean, even more so, that kind of driving factor to do it.
It might drive you on just to not be so easily maybe taken over, I feel like. But Chet made a very good point. All these Rangers fans that think if this deal goes through and they're just got to spunk money left, right and centre, look at Newcastle United. Just look at they're the richest club in world football and can't spend a penny until they sell, boys. So there'll be massive restrictions on Rangers to do that. And even Mike Ashley was hardly skint, and they didn't really spend money. They didn't go and spend silly money when he was in charge. When he had the club.
Was he a majority shareholder?
Well, Dermot Desmond's there's guys up Dermot Desmond's level, but he seems to get tarred with this brush that it should be on him to spend all the money and stuff. So
True.
Mike Ashley owned a lot of Rangers, I think.
There's also another guy in Celtic, I can't mind his name, I believe he's got 5% in the club, and he's even richer than Dermot Desmond. Listen, we have got serious money, but they can't go in and put it all in because PSR doesn't allow it.
I know.
But we can go and spend money now, spend an absolute fortune, and we'll still be fine under the guidelines because of the money in the bank, the turnover, etc. We'll be fine.
I might be wrong as well. I think the way that works, so if we went and I think it's reported we've got about £75 million in the bank, so just for easy counting, if we went and spent £75 million in the summer, I think over the next 3 years we need to bring in 75 million, whether that be through of some form of revenue, whether that be ticket sales, selling players in Champions Leagues and things like that. So as much as we've made that 75 million, that's cash free. I think if we had to, as much as we can go and spend that, we still need to make that back to comply. So Rangers are sitting way debt, so they need to manage that debt. And look, this 49ers thing could be from Rangers' point of view brilliant. Like you listen to all the phone-ins and things like that, they're desperate for investment, and it could be the worst this could be the best investment ever, could be the worst investment ever. We just don't know. Like I said, they look like they've done an okay job at Leeds now. Leeds look like they're getting promoted, but you say that, Stephen, they've got a 10% stake in that. How big is that? How big I say is that then in that 10%? Is it massive? Is it not? I don't know where their owners sort of stand and stuff. But you look at other clubs in Scotland that have got American owners. Hibs just posted £7 million losses. St Johnstone are posting losses. Americans look at a bigger scale. Man United, the Glazers, constantly hundreds of millions of pounds of losses. So it's the American model isn't necessarily the best thing in the world. I mean, even look at Liverpool. They seem to do it in spite of the American model, in the sense that, well, they sold Coutinho to fund Van Dijk and Alisson. They sell big players to then fund the other deals. I'm not trying to be flippant or anything, but the American model seems a wee bit of asset stripping, just ripping things out. I feel like now, far from me to tell these guys that are multi-billionaires how to run a business. Sitting in my ex-console, it's hard. It's one of them, but you're only going by what you see in the sort of football now, and especially close to home. Teams like Hibs, like I said, Hibs, even Hearts, Aberdeen and St Johnstone, all owned by Americans and all posting losses. So a wee bit of me sitting saying, careful what you wish for, but and also maybe it's a wee bit of, they're just that desperate for investment. I'm not saying they'll accept anything, but they're just having to take whatever investment they can get to stop these constant share issues. I mean, can you imagine if you actually had a wee bit of cash maybe 30 years ago and you invested in Rangers and shares? You must be sitting going, what a waste of money that must have been. So, and now it could be the absolute flip of that and be the best thing, and they take us over. It's all just up in there. It's all what ifs right now. So until we really know the ins and outs, I'm just trying to stay very blasé and go, well, I don't know what this investment's going to entail, what level it's at. So it's one of them, Stephen. I'm just like, what's the point in wasting energy on something that I don't know at what level?
I do think as well that it's worth a conversation, because whether we're like them or not,
disagree.
I would say.
I mean, totally agree. Sorry, I just said totally disagree. I mean, totally agree.
Because I would say
our own house in order.
Yes.
100%. But I would say as well, like the vast majority of Celtic fans would be thinking about this as well, whether we're like them or not, to see what the future holds, what it could potentially look like in 3 or 4 years. But I know it's all hypothetical, but don't know that. It's an interesting time.
You spoke about the sort of stadium redevelopment. Obviously, that's totally off the table for Celtic, it would appear. And I think it's down to the money it costs. Now you look at Spurs, they redeveloped that statement at about a couple of billion maybe. Takes a lot to pay that stadium back. Then even look at Arsenal when they done the Emirates. Taking them ages to start competing again. So if Rangers have got to start redeveloping that stadium, it's not any time soon that they're getting money back in that.
But Franny, what I have said this since I first came on the podcast as well. There is other ways to generate income for our own club.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one is just the sponsorship, whether it be your shirt sponsor or the kit supplier. So we need, obviously, that we seem to be getting better and better deals. We can now go to and say, right, we want more. One of the things I would like the club to explore is
St Johnstone.
Yeah. We got St Johnstone.
Aye.
I thought we'd have got Hearts. But also I would like the club, and I don't know how you and other people feel about this, look at stadium rights. It would still be known as Celtic Park or Parkhead to me. It would be Celtic Park sponsored by whoever. Surely there's an opportunity there for us to bring in more money. Because the fans will still call it Celtic Park.
I'm not adverse to it, I'll be honest with you, Jed.
We have to be looking.
But I feel
we have to be looking.
I think that's the only way that sort of happens if you go down, I think the sort of American or even say like the Middle East kind of backing. if Dermot Desmond does and others sell up or somebody comes in that they can get a majority shareholder, I think that's the only time that happens for me.
But if you what do these big companies spend in TV advertising and things like that? So let's say we're back in the Champions League next season, and the exposure of all over Europe, where Real Madrid is playing Celtic at whatever stadium. You know, Celtic Park sponsored by whatever. That's
Trivago.
I think Trivago. Yeah. I don't doubt that there'll be few people interested in that. It feels. It feels like it wouldn't. I say it wouldn't take silly amounts of money, but I don't think it would be taking astronomical amounts of money. I reckon, say if you said like 30 to 40 million pound a season, I think you could get naming rights of Parkhead, and it's the fact that nobody seems to be coming forward with that, or there doesn't seem to be any noises of it. I don't think there's an appetite within the board to go down that route now. I'm not adverse to it, Jed.
Yeah. It's a good idea in principle, but I think, like Franny said, I think that if that was on the table, we would have heard it, or something would have been leaked by now that the club have been in talks. I think, to be fair, the Celtic board would be interested in that because they're, they love money, they love looking at their bank balance. So if they can find a way of doing stuff like, and strange enough, the doctor comes in, the Celtic Village with different like pop-up stuff and bars and we event places and that. There's plenty of ways to do it. Plenty of ways.
What happened to the hotel was meant to be getting built, and the new museum going out where the ticket office is at the moment. The hotel is meant to be
update that ticket office. Maybe start updating that ticket office.
So we have their land nearby because we've purchased more. So we could be doing things like that. But when you do things like that, it's got to be things that can be booked out for other things, not just for football days. So it's whether it's the bars and other things function, whatever really can do, weddings and things like that. They need to be generating all the year round, not just when the football's getting played.
100%. But to kind of finish on one last point about that interview, one thing that he did say was that the possibility, Franny, of this takeover being complete kind of opens the door. It's Celtic being an attractive prospect for could be American, could be a Saudi investor. Although your man David Lowe said he would be kind of apprehensive about that if it did happen in terms of the safety of the club in the future. Obviously, being used to the status quo of Dermot Desmond and stuff, being the custodians, whatever they want to call themselves. But are you open to a Celtic takeover? Would you be looking at the millions of pounds available? Obviously, we're an attractive proposition because we're debt free, cash to bank. Would you be open to that?
Totally, and maybe that's where I'm looking at and not getting too concerned about this American investment in Rangers and the fact that they're the two biggest clubs in Scotland, whether folk want to admit it or not. Two of the biggest clubs in the UK as well, out with Man United. And I mean, after Man United and Liverpool, I don't think you'll get two bigger clubs in the UK. But so certainly from the outside looking in, Celtic's a great investment, but it's going to cost a lot to become a majority shareholder. So a lot of that down to being debt free, massively debt free. So you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get Celtic, I would imagine. But for me, I'm not against it, but in the same token, we're unfortunately restricted geographically that we're not. I know we're talking about maybe spending 10, 11 million pound player, more consistent on players. But I think really to get to that next level where maybe a proper investor would be coming in, I think you need to be spending the silly APL money, which we're never going to be at that level. So I'm not against it, Stephen. I don't really, until we're in a...
Stephen, can you hear me? I can't hear Franny.
I can hear you.
I Jed.
I can't hear Franny.
I can hear you, Jed. That's mental, because I can hear Jed as well.
That's it now.
All right, I totally hear you the whole time. I'm not against it, Stephen, but I just don't see a situation unless we do gamble and start, for argument's sake, Rodgers signs a new deal, for another couple of seasons, we go and spend 50, 60 million a summer on 3-4 players. Obviously, never going to happen. But we don't start seeing the return in the Champions League and the return in other players on these. It's the only real time I could see it, because then you start working at a loss after that. But for me, I'm not against it, but I just didn't see it happening unless we somehow get into the EPL or something like that.
Yeah, that's my kind of thinking of it as well. I'll be open to the conversation, but I think Marzuno comes in there, Jed, by saying we wouldn't be happy being a feeder club. I didn't suggest that. I wouldn't be happy either. I think we would need a majority shareholder just to own us as a club, and maybe build an organisation in and around that with other feeder clubs that they feed us type stuff. I don't know how that works, but it's interesting, all that multi-club ownership. But Celtic as a standalone, Jed, would you be open to the possibility of Dermot Desmond selling up and a new chapter for the club?
Yeah, I mean, you can never say never. We are restricted because of the league we're in at the moment. Because let's be honest, we ain't going to be able to go out and spend 30-40 million pound on one player because of the wages, what the players would want for that money, for that sort of thing. We couldn't do that because the Scottish League just isn't big enough for that. We can't. So we have to try and generate our own money through having good runs in Europe and things like that, and then be very shrewd in our business. This is where we need to have the good scouts out there and picking the Arnie Ingles up, picking the Kuhns up, the Maedas. We have picked up a lot of decent players, and our model will always be to buy cheap and sell at a good profit. That's always going to be the model. I just hope that this summer we are going to make a statement, and we are going to bring in a good few players. And it's not just a case of bringing in to make the numbers up. We need to be trying to bring in quality players. And be spending that little bit more should cut the risk of doing that.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting time in the coming months. At the end of the podcast on this note, Celtic is a unique brand in world football. There is massive room for growth. But look, that brings us to the end of the podcast. It's been a good one tonight. Franny, have you enjoyed it?
It's been good for a Monday night, Stephen. Not too much moaning. So
next
week we'll need to sort that out.
Get McGinty back on. We'll be here for another hour.
The following week. I didn't want moaning next week, because then that means Sunday's not going to be a good day, is it?
The viewers.
Jed, what about yourself,
I won't be here on Friday or Monday. So
you enjoyed it tonight?
Yeah, I did. Like I said, I made myself available. So yeah, enjoyed it, and it's beats talking to the family, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, Tobago Street Police Station Celtic Supporter Club, we got St Johnstone in the semi-final of the Scottish Cup. So the draw was made literally about 15 minutes ago. But yeah, as I said, we'll be back Friday looking ahead more in depth and more talking points, flash points, whatever, to the Glasgow Derby game. But until then, everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. Stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.
Cheers, guys.